Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Can I Do It Better Than Graham Potter? I mean, the title's not catchy, but we'll get there with it. But anyway, guys, welcome back to another episode. And I thought the best place to start is we're halfway through the season, or just a little bit past, with 22 games in. So I thought what I'd do very, very briefly is I would compare where I am at this stage of the season and where Graham Potter's Chelsea were at this season, stage of the season. And I think it's clearly quite clear who the superior manager is here. I am obviously 22 games in, 49 points, a goal difference of plus 24. And just looking at the table, that would have happened in the universe where Graham Potter was Chelsea manager. After 22 games, they were 10th in the league, 31 points. So I've gained an extra 18 points, and with a goal difference of +1. I think it's safe to say at this point that I have by far more the better manager. And up until this month, I've had exactly the same squad he has had up until January. The difference is I've made probably some different signings than he has. So let's not wait any longer. Let's get into those signings and see where we've been so far. So let's not wait any longer. Let's just get into the signings and see what players you've managed to bring in and what players we end up selling. Because remember, guys, we didn't have a transfer budget. So let's start the transfer news off with the outgoings of the season. And it's safe to say one of these players that I've sold today between these episodes is, you could argue, he was a club legend. He's done so much for the game, so much for Chelsea. He's made a massive impact. He's won multiple titles, and I really don't know how we're going to replace him. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Obviously, I don't know how on earth I am going to replace him. Obviously, I wasn't talking about Ruben Loftus-Cheek there, but we'll get into the real player that we have lost, who is, in fact, there's two players we have that have departed that I would consider probably legends of Chelsea. But when you put this player up for sale and Manchester City come in and give you £30 million for him, considering you didn't have a transfer budget, I think that's a pretty good sale if you ask me. But unfortunately, not one I feel like was going to be missed. And at this moment in time, in real life, Ruben Loftus-Cheek has in fact gone and signed for AC Milan. So obviously, I know it's the end of the season, but even then, real life Chelsea obviously didn't have any issue departing of him. I mean, it's a real shame though, because I feel like he always had the potential, and who knows what he'll do at Milan. But as the situation is right now, I don't think he'll be missed. And now we get into the real legend I was talking about, the real player that has had a massive impact for Chelsea, and I think will be really, really difficult to replace. Obviously, in real world right now, he goes and signs in the Saudi League at the end of the season, and I'm not too sure why, but, you know, it's a nice end to his career, but I feel like he will be massively missed. But in the world where Can I Do It Better Than Graham Potter exists, N'Golo Kante didn't want to sign a new contract. He was getting a little bit annoyed. So I thought, why not? Why not get some money for him and letting him go at the end of the summer? And PSG were willing to pay £36 million for a player with less than 6 months left on his contract. So again, it was an absolute no-brainer. Unfortunately, for N'Golo Kante to leave, so I can bring some in fresh legs, bring some transfer budget in. So them two alone was to bring me £60-odd million in. But we also had the loss of another legend in Cesc Azpilicueta. Obviously, I know in real life he has since signed for Atletico Madrid. But again, this was one of those typical cases where PSG showed an interest in him. He basically had a sulk, said he wanted to try a new challenge, he wanted to leave. Nothing I could do was convinced to keep him, because I would have liked to have kept him around. But again, PSG willing to part with a bit of cash. So that was a nice £10 million for a 33-year-old who was going to be out of, well, he wasn't quite out of contract, sorry, but that's £10 million for a 33-year-old, and more importantly, it was going to obviously bring those wage budgets down, so we were able to start looking at bringing in some players ourselves. Obviously, I know in the real world there, obviously, with these players didn't leave till the end of the season, but these are decisions I would have made, different decisions that I would have made, bearing in mind the contracts lengths and obviously what happens in with obviously teams coming interested in him. This is a decision I would have maybe made on those players to get a little bit of cash for them. But obviously, Graham Potter decided not to, or maybe they just didn't need to, or let's be honest, I wouldn't get rid of him if I didn't have to. But I wanted to bring some transfer money in, and so it was a decision that we had to be made. So let's find out where we went and spent all this money that we brought in from those free players. Where did we go and replace? What players did we go and spend all our money on? Well, quite frankly, majority of it went on one player, and that player was Milinkovic-Savic. Yep, absolutely fantastic player. Obviously, look at his stats overall with his bravery, his work rate, balance, jumping reach, natural fitness, stamina, strength. I mean, there's a plethora of 16 plus numbers and the attributes there, and he's a box to box, so he was a natural replacement for the N'Golo Kante role. But we did have to part with the best part of £55 million, and I think, yep, as I can see there, it does rise up to £75 million with add-ons. Was a bit pricey to bring him in, but I think that says a lot when he's played 3 times, 2 goals and 1 assist and a player of the match already in 3 goals. But there's a lot more to come for him. But my January signing to replace Kante early on was, in fact, Milinkovic-Savic, which I think would in real life, to be honest. In real life, I think would have been a big signing for Chelsea. I know it's not someone they're really interested in, so I wouldn't necessarily expect them to sign him, but I think he's the sort of player that would have been a fantastic replacement for N'Golo Kante. So, with myself, that's the one I decided to go with. And quite frankly, I think like I said, it's a massive signing for the club, massive signing for myself just till the end of this season. And maybe it's going to have an impact to see if we can finish far better season than what Graham Potter did. We then went and brought in this guy who, quite frankly, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of before today. Maybe quite a few people have heard of him. He seems like he's really, really good stats. And maybe quite a few have heard of him. But myself, personally, I'd never heard of him. Mehdi Taremi from Porto. I mean, look at his stat. Obviously, he can't help his anticipation, his concentration, his decisions, his ability off the ball. Obviously, 6'2". He's got natural fitness. He's strong. He works hard. Got good vision, good teamwork. He just seemed like a fantastic new striker to add to this Chelsea team, who realistically don't have a striker. But we did have to part with the best part of £41 million eventually for this player. And I think Porto have got themselves a cracking deal there. As I mean, he scored some pretty good goals since signing, but they've got him in for £4.5 million plus of the exchange to player. So I think that's absolutely fantastic for everyone all around. But it meant we got ourselves a potentially top striker up top. We do have another player potentially coming in, and this is this guy from Nicolas Gonzalez from Fiorentina. This is a winger. I wanted to add a few more wingers to the squad, with the likes of only being Aubameyang being one of the main ones on the other side. I wanted to bring a bit more energy and a bit more life, and this guy seems great. Aggression, you could maybe say, is touch and go, but he's fast. You know, his acceleration, his pace, good dribbling, good crossing. Again, high work rate, good determination, bravery, and composure. All the sort of things you want to be looking at in an attacking player for a high team like Chelsea, especially a team that do want to go on and secure Champions League football this season. And it shows that we're making the right decisions and the right tactics can do for a club. I think going into deadline day as well, I think I would like to sign a right back, because the only recognised right back we have at the squad, at the club, is Reece James there. So I would like to bring in one right back. But at the same time, looking at what we have left for deadline day, it's not really a lot of money. Bearing in mind the majority of that will go when that winger signs. So I'm not too sure if we're able to bring anyone else in. But that's what we're here for. We're here to see how we did on deadline day. But that's what we're here for. We're here to see what we did on deadline day. Or should I say, will do on deadline day. The transfers that we made in the January transfer window and the players that did in fact leave. I mean, there is a few players, if I'm looking around, that I did want to try and get rid of. I mean, I went for Mendy in goal. So I've been trying to sell Kepa, but wages have been a problem. Thiago Silva's leaving at the end of the season on a free transfer. Koulibaly wants to leave as well. We did have a few bids in for Trevor Chalobah, but I have turned them down. And quite frankly, I did bring back Callum Hudson-Odoi to try and bring some more funds to sell him. But ironically, we're having some issues selling him, so he could find himself being part of this squad. Ziyech was another player I was looking at selling, but again, doesn't seem like people are too interested in bringing him in. Broja and Aubameyang were also players I was looking at selling. However, ironically, Per Aubameyang, since I've changed the formation, which we'll get, well, changed the tactics, since we'll get into in just a moment. Since I've changed that, he seems to have started playing well and started improving for us. So at the end, actually won't be too devastated if this guy sticks around. So let's talk about the changes I was on about there. And quite frankly, I've not made a lot of changes. I mean, that should be an inside forward there. But what I've done is actually, I've made it more expressive, but instead of going for a high tempo, it turns out this team do so much better working at a lower tempo. And that's actually bringing the best out of Aubameyang on this left-hand side when he does play. Havertz still doing fantastic for ourselves up front, but with the addition of the new signings, it means we're not restricted to the same 11, because what it was causing over the past few months is we had a lot of injuries. We had multiple times of physios coming and saying that a lot of players needing a week's rest, but I couldn't rest them because I didn't have any players to replace them. So few players in there to add a bit of squad depth, a little bit more. Especially players that I want to start, and hopefully also it could give us a chance in the Champions League as well. And speaking of the Champions League, I did say at the end of the episode that I was wanting to wait for the draw to happen, but it was going to take a while for it to happen. So off camera, the draw did happen, and I think we've had an absolutely fantastic draw because we have drawn Celtic in the next round. Now, this is absolutely no offence to Celtic, but if I'm Chelsea Football Club and I'm playing Celtic, realistically, there should be no excuses not to be getting through this round of the Champions League, and I think that's a fair assessment to make, even with the squad I've got now, even with the players, and definitely with the additions I brought in. But I do just want to bring attention to this highlight I'm just about to show you, and show that even the fantastic Erling Haaland, who is also top scorer in this league, is actually in fact human, with possibly quite a terrible miss. I mean, quite frankly, that was an appalling penalty for an Erling Haaland standard there. I just thought I'd bring that to you guys. I thought it'd be pretty funny to show that in fact he is still human. And let's just summarise where we've been up to since you last came with ourselves. Since you were last with us, obviously we played that final game against Copenhagen in the group stages to go and win the league. Since then, we've had obviously quite a few wins there. Obviously, we did have those 2 draws against Tottenham and Villa. We have the Carabao Cup wins against Stoke and Newcastle. We did play a friendly there, as obviously with it being last season, we did have the World Cup in there, obviously this year. Or the end of last year, sorry. So that was in there with our friendly against Anderlecht, which we won. We then went and beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, and we even managed to beat Manchester City, which I think it's absolutely fantastic that we managed to get. And as you can see, Per Aubameyang, 85th minute winner. Fantastic result there. We went to beat West Ham and then also beat Burnley. We did lose in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup against Arsenal, so that one stung a little bit. I mean, this just shows what kind of game we had. Obviously, Jesus scored in 8 minutes. We got a player sent off. It all went to pot. It really was a game that we did not shine in at all. We then went and played Leeds, absolutely battered Wolves, played Fulham and the FA Cup 4th round there. So we have had the 5th round draw, which will be Swansea or Wigan, and our Champions League knockout round of 16 against Celtic there. So what I'm going to do, guys, like I do in most of my series, is I'm going to play through deadline day, and I will come back if we have anything to show for a deadline day. I will come back each time. You know, as potentially a sign and a player we could be interested in. And then we'll see how we get on. And then we can summarise how my squad looks at the end of January. So we are at a point where with 8 hours to go, we've not had much interest. We did finalise the signing of that winger from Florentina, but we're at a point where we don't have much interest going on here. I mean, we had Zenit came in for £6 million for Kepa, but wanted us to pay £44,000 of his wages. One, that's just not enough for him, and two, definitely not paying the wages. Then Nice came in and offered, like I said, a wage percentage of 17k, which again isn't going to touch our wage budget and isn't going to help us. So quite frankly, for the sake of the season, I'd rather keep him around. So you guys might think this is a bizarre signing to make, and I am not too sure if I'll make it yet, but I have put a bid in for Matteo Darmian. I'm sure a few of you remember his name, for about £5-6 million, because quite frankly, we're running out of time. As you can see, 5 hours. Nobody's coming in and signing any of our players. And I don't really want to go at the end of the season with only one right back. So I've gone in the experienced Matty Damian. Maybe this is a guy we bring just to sit on the bench and come on if needs be. Well, guys, that was short-lived, as you can see. He was wanting to be a star player when, quite frankly, he's going to be lucky if he's going to be a squad player. So that was short-lived. No Matty Damian. Let's see if we can get hold of anybody else in the next 5 hours. So let's try this again. Still 5 hours to go. This is Hamari Traore from Stade Rennes. This time we're going to bring him in for around 10 million. Well, I hope so. I think this guy is being a bit more accepting of the role that he will be playing. But we need to get someone in, even if it's just to cover for worst case scenarios. Let's see if we have any more luck bringing in this guy. Here we are. They have the confirmation of the signing of Traore. Maybe it went up to 14 million after a few years. But we bring that in. Now, I think very much we are covered in almost all places on the pitch. At least 2 players, which I feel like it seemed like Chelsea. I mean, yeah, they seem pretty happy there. A team like Chelsea, I feel is the bare minimum. You should have that level of squad depth. I suspect the next time I'll speak to you guys will be the end of transfer deadline day, unless something miraculous happens. But looks like we're going to have a hell of a lot more players we're expecting to, including Callum Hudson-Odoi. Well, there we have it, guys. As suspected, it is the end of deadline day, and we didn't make any other signings. And as you can see, even though I've brought the wage budget down a little bit by selling some big players and replaced them with people on less wages, we still are, in fact, by far the highest wage team in the league, which I think is quite frankly astonishing. How a team with that higher wages, and it doesn't guarantee success, but a team of that higher wages could finish so poorly in the season. So, just summarise, guys, we did get that signing of Gonzalez over the line, add to that attacking talent. And quite frankly, if I'm honest, obviously brought him in for 60 million. He's already worth between 92 and 100 too, and he's only 24 years old. And then also we brought in the Traore as a nice backup fullback on that right-hand side. Someone to fill in just in case. Nothing special, nothing magical. We did try and get rid of the likes of Kepa, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Borja. Nobody was interested in what offers we did get in. As you saw, guys, they were pretty dull. Pretty dull, wasting my time. And quite frankly, I'd have been better off keeping him to play and fill my squad than I wouldn't have benefited from. Financially, at least, I wouldn't have benefited from their sale. So it's time to register the squad here, and I'm hoping we are able to sign everyone, which, quite frankly, what's worrying here is we aren't able to sign everybody up, which can only mean bad things for me if I ain't able to sort this out. So I don't really know why he's in there. He can disappear, which means I can bring Traore in there. Bring Traore in there, obviously, because I don't see how he's going to be playing, just to confirm. It is that youngster, yet not too sure we'll be missing him too much. And who else are we missing there? So Hudson-Odoi has been able to get himself sneaking in there. Brogier is an under 21. Taremi's in there. our new signing Gonzalez is also in there. So quite frankly, that is our squad there. Nice confirm those for the rest of the season. Which means when you look on the squad planner, it does look a little bit more healthy there. With Traore obviously at that cover right back. Now, quite frankly, the keeper department is fantastic. And the attacking talent, even though I tried to get players, we have Gonzalez, Ziyech, Aubameyang, Pulisic, Mount, Sterling on the other side. And up front, we've got obviously Brozier, Taremi, Kai Havertz, who plays up there, will be our main man. And the midfield, we're absolutely packed. We have Kovacic, Jorginho, Gallagher, GX, Zachary, and Milinkovic-Savic. It would have maybe nice to bring in a defensive deep line playmaker to as well to cover Jorginho, but nevertheless, that is what it is. And quite frankly, guys, I think looking at the squad for the rest of the season, I think in terms of the depth we have in the squad, I think we've got every chance of doing well. And what Chelsea should have been doing as anybody else in this league, except maybe Manchester City, of course. But I think we've got a chance to be just as good as anyone else in this league, which is exactly, as I've just said, is exactly what the real Chelsea were expected to have last season. It's just, if I'm honest, guys, I think Chelsea won't have the same season again. I'm not saying they definitely won't be second. Obviously, I am on this save. But I don't think Chelsea will be second. But I don't think we'll see a 12th place Chelsea again. I'll be amazed if they didn't get some form of European football. Because if they're able to gel those players together with some of the players they're bringing in, I think they're going to be an absolute wrecking machine for the top six, or should I say? I say wrecking machine. They're not going to be a City or a Liverpool or an Arsenal this season. But I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't far behind if they get this team gelling. And I think what people need to take in consideration as well is they brought in a lot of young talent. So as other teams are aging and this team are gelling, if he can keep them together, I wouldn't be surprised if in a season, maybe two, I know it's maybe not what Chelsea fans want to hear, of course, but in a season or maybe two, you might find that they're going to be the ones, they could go through a small dominant period and win the league again, which is kind of weird to say considering for quite a while now Chelsea have been a title contenders for the Premier League, but they've gone through a dull period. Obviously, with City winning everything as well, but don't be surprised, guys, if you find them back fighting at the top of the league in the next 2 seasons, as long as they can stick to a good plan. So just before we get into the game with Brentford away, I thought I would show you this game. First of all, we had to have the Champions League registration, and not realising that you can only actually sign 3 new players into the squad. So I have an unhappy right back in Traore. I had to sacrifice him, and I had to sacrifice Callum Hudson-Odoi, but I wasn't really worried about that one. I had to sacrifice him in the squad as obviously I wasn't able to register him. And quite frankly, he did tell me he was very unhappy about it, but he seemed to understand whatever I told him. He seemed to understand. But so at least in the Champions League, we only have one right back, but at least in the Premier League, I guess where there's more games, we've got it both in there. So yeah, didn't quite realise that. But nonetheless, let's just get into the game on today's episode. And here's our starting lineup. We have a debut in place with Gonzalez up there. But we've got Chilwell on the left, Thiago Silva, Fofana and James in defence with him. Mendy in goal. Jorginho as our deep line playmaker. Kovacic, who's doing well in the attacking midfield. We have our Milinkovic-Savic in that box-to-box. Gonzalez as the inside forward. Sterling on the wing and on the other wing. And, of course, for now, we're going to start with Havertz up front because I feel like he's deserved it and he's doing well there. But what that does mean, I mean, looking at the state of this bench, you've got Kepa, Cucurella, Mason Mount, Taremi. Obviously, we've got Traore, Gallagher, Koulibaly, Ziyech. This is the bench. It was, quite frankly, some of them, the likes of Mason Mount, Cucurella, possibly Taremi and Gallagher, Koulibaly. Argument there, they would start for this team. But at the moment, I just can't fit him in the starting lineup. So let's get into the game anyway, guys. Let's go and hopefully beat Brentford and hopefully keep our place as second in the league. And hopefully you guys will see a little bit about what this team has been doing in between the episodes when we obviously scraped past our group in the Champions League in the end, where we scraped through a group that realistically we should have won, but this change in tactic does seem to benefit us. However, I know what this game can be like if you don't play it for a short while. It likes to punish you. So this could be interesting. It's Gonzalez's first showing with Havertz. That was a poor ball. Chilwell there. Jorginho. I mean, that was sloppy for Jorginho. Can we cover ourselves here? Can James do it? Oh, that was fantastic from Brentford. I mean, defensively, that was not a good sign there. Great take by Mendy, quite frankly. I mean, there's a lot of highlights just not going the way we thought. So here's Sterling there. Can he do something with it with Kovacic? Nah. I feel like he's wasted an opportunity there. Another highlight, again, going Brentford's way. I mean, they're having a lot of success on this right-hand side. Having a lot of success on this right-hand side, so I'll see how we go on. I might have to change things over there. But he's keen to run, isn't he, that Gonzalez? Keen to run. Can Sterling make the right decision? No. That is one frustration with Sterling. I'm sure I'm definitely not the first person to say in last is decision making is not necessarily the best in the in the final third there. Got a corner straight from there. Can we do anything with the corner? No, we can just give the fantastic. It's like whiplash, give the ball away, then we get straight back. It's fantastic. I mean, it's disappointing that we haven't been able to score yet. But I mean, that was a fantastic bit of skill, but can we do anything about that? Can we? I think it's Savage. Can we do? I say can we all the time now. So we've got another corner straight from it, but nothing comes of it. At least you're very much on the ascension now. But we are at half time now, and well, let's not wait any round. Let's just pump our fists together somehow and send them back out to go and get a result. And to be a bit more proactive in that final third. I mean, again, I may have to change things up by bringing in the striker, the actual natural striker in there. With his strength, he'll be able to hold things up a bit better. But Kovacic, oof, fantastic bit of play there, but also a fantastic save by their goalkeeper. Chilwell again. Are we going to be able to get at least one of these decent crosses in? So another highlight here, and it seems like they've gone and got themselves the ball. With Gonzalez is doing a lot of hard work on that right hand side. I can only credit that. It's just not at the right end of the pitch. Sterling, I think. Getting. I was literally just about to take Sterling off, put Havertz there, and bring the striker on. I was literally just about to do that after this phase of play. But just in the nick of time, Havertz, boom, straight in there. Fantastic cross by Chilwell. A cracking header into the goal there. Here we another corner there. Are we going to get any success with these corners? It doesn't look like it, no. It's mad to see that Gonzalez is playing there, considering I have one of the defenders on my tactics playing there. Gonzalez working hard there. Can he make the right decision? Oh, that was fantastic cut ball there, but obviously Sterling wasn't able to convert that. Seems like you've really come alive in the second half. I mean, the ability to take our time does seem to benefit this team, but this fast pace seems to benefit. Oof, what a save again. This fast pace does seem to benefit for his name now. Gonzalez on the right hand side there. What I am going to do though is I'm going to make that change now though. I'm going to put him on there. And I might bring in. I'm going to bring in Mount in that attacking midfielder position there. I mean, I think those are fantastic substitutions that I'm able to make those players. I don't feel like the team has actually worsened by making those substitutions. Sorry. I mean, we haven't had a single highlight since until now. But I don't feel like the team doesn't feel any weaker. Can Mount... Oof. Who is this goalkeeper? Maybe this was a goalkeeper should have signed. So you got rid of Mendy and brought this lad in instead. Gonzalez again. He's absolutely fantastic debut here, I must admit. Can we do anything here? Can we... Oof. I mean, that was some great phase of play there by our new striker coming in. It's a shame we couldn't convert it there. Don't really know why he's time wasting there. Didn't ask him to. May as well do that. Kill some time. Didn't ask him to, but I may have wished he has in a minute. Oof. That's our goalkeeper showing, proving me wrong. Showing why we have him and not the Brentford goalkeeper instead. Can we do anything with it? Can Mount do anything? Anybody? Oof. I mean, that goalkeeper, man. I'm going to have a quick look at that goalkeeper in just a moment, I think. But, I mean, I think we did pretty well. I think that was it. I mean, most importantly, we got the result. Lots of shots there. I think that was an impressive game, considering the lack of goals is worrying. But I think we're being quite impressive there. And quite frankly, what that does is actually we find ourselves joint top of the league now. Obviously, goal difference playing a massive factor there. But surprisingly, after 23 games, bearing in mind after 22, Chelsea were on 31 points and 10th in the league, and 52 points after 23, and a joint top of the league. I mean, quite frankly, and let's be honest, for the majority of those games, I've had the same team as the manager that never managed this team in there. Exactly the same team up until recently. I've just obviously made a few different signings. So this is the guy that we were just up against there. I mean, I just thought I'd have a look at his stats there. I mean, when did he join? Was he already there? So he signed for them. So they brought him in only just by the looks of it for a free transfer from Lazio. I mean, that's a great free transfer for him. I mean, command in the area is a bit low. Communication. Surely his shot stopping. One-on-ones. Punching. Reflexes. Reflexes 17. That doesn't even surprise. That doesn't even slightly surprise me there. But nevertheless, guys, I just want to say thank you for coming out and watching this next episode with myself in our very short series, obviously, which remember is called Can We Do It Better Than Graham Potter? Very catchy. And thank you very much for coming out to this episode. And if you do like the episode and want to see more episodes like this, or even more short series like this, where I could do with different clubs, then let me know down in the comments down below. Like the episode, subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me, and maybe it lets other people out there have a look at our videos and have a look at my videos, whether they like it or maybe whether they prefer my other series of Portsmouth, where I'm a bit miserable up and down all the time, maybe not quite as successful as a Chelsea save. But nevertheless, all support is appreciated, guys. And what I will do is I'm going to return for the second leg against Celtic in the Champions League. And then we'll see how we get on there. I'll turn for that second leg in the Champions League, and hopefully we're through and we'll have the draw for the next round in and around there somewhere. And then that should get us nicely towards the end of the season, so we could summarise what would have happened if Chelsea Football Club hired me instead of Graham Potter. Thank you very much for coming out, guys. And I'll see you home at Celtic.